Imagine a king who could speak to ants, command a wind, and control beings you cannot even see. Now imagine that same king, at the peak of his power, tested by his own words, waking up one day to find a lifeless body placed upon his throne. This is not fantasy. This is the true story of Prophet Sulaiman, a man given more power than any human before or after him. And what he did with it will change how you see wisdom forever. Stay with me till the end, because the final story about the Jinn and the queen who challenged him will leave you speechless. Before we continue, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. This channel breaks down the real stories behind the prophets. Stories full of lessons you will not find anywhere else. Let's get into it. Who was
stole
Prophet
my
Sulaiman?
ewe from the flock!
Sulaiman, known in the Bible as Solomon,
land.
was the son of Prophet Dawood. He inherited not just a kingdom, but prophethood itself. From a young age, he showed a level of understanding that surprised even his father. There's a famous account where two men brought a dispute to Dawood about a field destroyed by sheep. Dawood gave one judgment, but young Sulaiman suggested another solution, one so wise that it satisfied both parties completely. This early moment revealed something important. Sulaiman was not just going to be a king. He was going to be one of the wisest rulers in human history. The gift no one else received. When Sulaiman took the throne, he made a request that tells you everything about his character. He did not ask for wealth. He did not ask for endless power. He asked for a kingdom that would never be matched by anyone after him. A kingdom that would prove the strength of his connection to his Creator. And what he received was beyond imagination. He was given control over the wind, able to travel vast distances in a single day. He understood the language of birds and animals. And most remarkably, he was given authority over the Jinn, unseen beings made of smokeless fire, forcing them to work for him, building structures, diving into seas, and carrying out tasks no human workforce ever could. This is where the story becomes fascinating, because commanding Jinn is not something any other prophet was given. It was unique to Sulaiman, the army of ants. One of the most famous stories from his life happened during a military march. Sulaiman was leading his army, which included humans, jinn, and birds, all organized and disciplined under his command. As they approached the valley, an ant noticed them coming and shouted a warning to the other ants, telling them to get inside their homes so Sulaiman and his soldiers would not crush them without even realizing it. Sulaiman heard this, not because the ant spoke loudly, but because he had been given the ability to understand the language of even the smallest creatures. And instead of ignoring it, he smiled. He stopped his entire army, thanked his Creator for such a gift, and made sure not a single ant was harmed. Think about that for a second. A king with an army capable of conquering nations paused everything out of concern for an insect. This tells you that real power is not about how much you can dominate. It is about how much restraint and mercy you show when you have the ability to dominate. The hoopoe bird in the hidden kingdom. Now here is where the story with the Jinn truly begins to unfold. During an inspection of his army, Sulaiman noticed one of his birds was missing, the hoopoe. He was upset, warning that he would punish it severely unless it had a very good excuse. When the hoopoe finally arrived, it brought information that stunned everyone. It had traveled to a distant land called Sheba and discovered a kingdom ruled by a woman, a queen who sat upon a magnificent throne, leading a wealthy and powerful nation. But there was a problem. This queen and her people worshipped the sun instead of the one true God. Sulaiman did not react with pride or anger. He acted with strategy and wisdom. He wrote her a letter, a direct and respectful invitation to abandon false worship and submit to the truth. He sent the hoopoe to deliver it and observe her reaction. The queen who challenged the prophet. When Queen Bilqis received the letter, she gathered her advisors and made a decision that showed her own wisdom. Instead of going to war, which many of her advisors pushed for, she chose diplomacy. She sent Sulaiman gifts, testing whether he was a man seeking wealth and power or a man on a genuine mission of truth. Sulaiman rejected the gifts entirely. He told her messengers that what he had been given was far greater than anything material wealth could offer, and that if she did not come to him willingly, he would bring his forces to her. This is the moment where the Jinn entered the story in the most dramatic way possible. The throne that moved faster than light. Sulaiman decided he wanted to bring Bilqis's throne to his palace before she even arrived, as a demonstration of the power given to him by his creator. He asked his court, including the jinn under his command, who could bring it to him. An Ifrit, a powerful jinn known for his strength, offered to bring the throne before Sulaiman could even rise from his seat. But then someone else spoke up, a righteous man with knowledge of the scripture, often identified as Asif bin Barkia. He said he could bring the throne even faster, in the blink of an eye. And it happened. The throne appeared instantly, transported across vast distances beyond human comprehension. This was not magic. This was a demonstration that true power comes not from strength alone, but from knowledge and closeness to truth. The man with knowledge outdid the powerful jinn, teaching a lesson that echoes through history. Knowledge is greater than raw power. When Bilqis arrived and saw her own throne already sitting in Sulaiman's palace, slightly altered so she would not immediately recognize it, she was asked if this was a throne. Her response showed her intelligence too. She said it looked like it, showing she was cautious, not easily fooled, and thoughtful in her judgment. The Crystal Palace illusion. Sulaiman then had something built by the jinn, a glass palace with a floor so clear and polished it looked exactly like flowing water. When Bilqis approached, she lifted her garments, thinking she was about to step into a pool, before realizing it was solid glass beneath her feet. This moment broke something in her. She realized she was in the presence of someone whose power came from a source far beyond human or jinn capability. She declared her submission and turned away from her previous way of life completely. This entire encounter shows something remarkable about Sulaiman. He never uses control over the jinn for cruelty or oppression. He used it to demonstrate truth, to invite people toward guidance, not to instill fear. The moment of humility. But here is a part of the story most people skip, and it is the most important part. Despite everything Sulaiman had, he was given a profound test. Authentic traditions tell us he once made a grand declaration, vowing that his wives would each bear a son who would grow up to fight for the sake of God. But in his confidence, he forgot to say if God wills. As a result, only one child was born, and that child was a lifeless body placed upon his own throne. This trial stripped away his reliance on his own strength and forced him to recognize that everything he had, the wind, the jinn, the kingdom, belonged entirely to his creator, never to himself. He turned back in complete humility, repenting immediately. It was only after this moment of being broken down to nothing that he made his now famous prayer, asking for a kingdom unmatched by anyone else, not out of pride, but from a place of total dependence. His death and the final lesson. Perhaps the most extraordinary story from his life is how he died. Sulaiman passed away while standing, leaning on his staff, and the jinn who were working under his command did not realize he had died. They continued working for a long period of time, terrified of him, still believing he was alive and watching them. It was only when termites ate through his staff, causing his body collapse, that the jinn and everyone around realized he had already passed. This moment revealed something the Quran points out directly. The jinn did not actually know the unseen, despite the myths surrounding their supposed supernatural knowledge. If they had known, they would not have continued laboring under the false belief that Sulaiman was still alive and watching them. This single detail dismantles centuries of myths about jinn possessing hidden knowledge of the future or the unseen realm. It proves that ultimate knowledge belongs to one source alone. Why this story matters today in 2026. In a world obsessed with power, status, and control, the story of Sulaiman teaches something we desperately need right now. Real strength is not about what you can dominate. It is about how you use influence with humility, mercy, and wisdom. He had the ability to control unseen forces, yet he stopped for an ant. He had the ability to conquer a kingdom, yet he chose diplomacy and truth over war. And even at his highest point, he was humbled, and he accepted it. If a man given that level of power could remain humble, what excuse do we have when we have far less? If this story moved you the way it moved me, let me know in the comments which part shocked you the most, the ants, the throne, or the ending with the jinn. Subscribe for more deep dives into the lives of the prophets. Stories that still teach us how to live today. I will see you in the next video.